And hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guests today, I am meeting for the first time, and I'm very excited. Their names are Heather Heath and Chef Nico Munoz. Heather is the founder of the Vegan Vegas Culinary Academy and Eatery. I hope I got that right, Heather. Did I say it in the right order?
Close.
Maybe it's the Vegas vegan, because vegan and Vegas sound almost exactly the same. So she's going to tell you all about the school that she founded. And here is her executive chef, Chef Nico, who's going to be making a fabulous recipe. Please welcome them to the show. Sorry, I botched your title because vegan and Vegas, they're very similar words.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear, before Chef gets into the recipe, about you guys, what your vegan story is, because I would love to have a vegan culinary school where I live in Northern California. I'd love to teach at your school. As far as I know, there's really not very many vegan culinary schools in the world.
There aren't. And that was kind of the basis for starting this, because there are no vegan cooking schools that actually are non-accredited and catering to the average person. So what we do here is we just have classes that are 2 to 3 hours in length on a certain topic, a certain dish, certain cuisine, and people sign up and that's it. No long-term commitment. It's a short come and go. You're all 100% hands-on, making the dish yourself and then getting recipe cards at the end of the class, so electronically, no paper, and everything is emailed to you. And people can walk away thinking, this wasn't so bad. Being vegan isn't that difficult. These aren't recipes that require you to go to specialty stores and things like that. They're what to do with tofu or 101 ways to cook jackfruit, things that are basic. We do go into some more detailed classes, but that was the concept. And then we also have a restaurant attached, so people can come in and try food and, understand what it means to go plant-based.
So when did the school open? I don't even know how I heard of you, but I'm so happy I did. Because, it's so funny. I used to produce conferences every year in Vegas. That would have been amazing if you were in existence when we were there.
We opened November 5th last year. So not even a year yet.
Have you ever had restaurants or culinary schools before?
No, I have 30-year background in healthcare. So it was something that I was interested in pursuing, and it actually tied into a lot of my nonprofit work over in Asia. I was planning on launching some vegan cooking classes over in South Korea because I do a lot of work with the dog meat trade. And I believe that instead of force feeding information to people, giving them alternatives to consuming animals and dogs in particular was going to be a more direct route and a more accepted route. And then COVID hit. So it kind of derailed those plans a little bit, and I was already in the process of retiring from that 30-year career and just decided to figure out how to do it here.
How often do you teach classes?
We've got classes scheduled, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and there are adults, teens, children. The children's side of it are the ones that have really taken off the quickest. We're not necessarily holding all those classes. It depends on enrollment and if people sign up, we have minimum capacity, but the kids classes are a hit, which is awesome because they're the next generation. So
that's fantastic. And is the restaurant open 7 days a week?
Yes.
And how is the restaurant doing? Because I would imagine there are people maybe that don't want to take classes but still want to eat at a restaurant.
Exactly. We do catering. We do the regular come in, dine in. It's more deli style, so you kind of can grab and go, or you can sit here and eat. But then we also do catering. We do private events. We do plated events. We can do anything you want vegan. We can do it.
That's amazing. So when did you personally, both of you, become vegan, and why?
A lot of people can mark that day that they went vegan. I can't. It was probably about 7 years ago, and it really tied in a lot to, I was always involved in animal welfare issues, but when I really got involved internationally in Asia with the dog meat trade, it was a slam dunk. It just, the minute you see dogs on a farm next to cows, pigs, goats, you just make the connection, and it was just easy. It was just easy to go, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, are you familiar with Melanie Joy's book, Why We Love Dogs, Eat Pigs, and Wear Cows?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because whenever we talk animal rights on my channel, I don't get views, but I've been an ethical vegan for over 45 years. And it's so interesting that people care so much when it's, I don't mean you, I mean, I'm saying people care so much when it's domesticated animals like dogs and cats. But if we, if it, you know, if you did in the United States to a dog or a cat, what we do every day to cows and pigs, you'd go to jail.
Mhm. And that's why it was so easy for me when I was over there to gain and garner all the attention in the US, because people look at dogs as man's best friend. Dogs are the platform for raising the awareness for all the other farmed animals.
That's great. And Chef Nico, how about you? When did you become vegan and why? And when did you become a chef? Because I'm a chef and I love chef stories. So
Okay, well, becoming a chef, I started training about 15 years ago. I did a lot of staging projects to begin with. So about 10 years ago now, I can professionally say that I've been cooking in the kitchen. I became a vegan almost 5 years ago. It's December 18th. The reason why I know the date so easily is because it's my fiance and I's anniversary. And so part of going vegan was for her. I was already a vegetarian at the time. So it was a natural progression for it. And just seeing everything that was going on, it was one of those things, okay, I can't not do this anymore.
I'm so happy to hear that. So tell me a little bit about your culinary point of view. Like what would you say your style as a chef is?
Well, I grew up classically French trained and did a lot of Mediterranean. So it was a combination of kind of like a Provençal French cooking, a lot of Mediterranean cooking, lighter food, very heavy on vegetables and fruits already to begin with. And then as I've moved on and became a vegan, I found that instead of limiting what I could do, it's opened up so much of what I could do. I never would have got into Japanese cooking, but now I do a lot of it. I never would have got into Moroccan cooking, even though it's very similar. The flavor profiles are so much more heavily spiced that it makes a big difference on the palate. And so until going vegan and searching for really understanding who I was as a chef now, I would have never opened up to doing that.
That's fantastic. Do you also do the menu at the restaurant in addition to teaching the culinary classes?
I do, yes.
That's fantastic. What's your most popular item on the menu?
Well, the Philly cheesesteak is definitely one of them that's pretty popular. Breakfast burrito is really popular. We do egg salad is really popular.
The egg salad is very popular.
Especially for people who are just coming in, getting that and mac and cheese and having them try it for the first time. There's no eggs in this is a nice experience. So
that is so cool. So Heather, why Vegas?
I've been here 30 years. You know, I know the scene. I've been here. I know enough people. It's not necessarily where I always envision spending the rest of my life, but for now it works. It's a good hub. Vegas definitely has vegan options here already, so it wasn't a struggle to gain the support of the community. And it's a hub for tourists. I think a huge part of people coming in on a daily basis are Europeans who are landing at the airport, and we're an easy drive from the airport, coming over, and they literally find us immediately and come over, sometimes even with their bags still before they've checked into the hotels, because they just want to get vegan food.
That's really cool. I'm assuming you're like on places like Happy Cow, people can find you there. That's fantastic. Well, hopefully more people will find you from being on this show. So Heather, I have everything you gave me in the show notes, which are right below the YouTube box, but they're so long that I can't fit in the recipe. So is there any way that people could email you or contact you to the recipe? Because I either have to take out some of the bio or the recipe, and I want to keep all that information you gave me.
Yeah, absolutely. We have the recipe already generated electronically. So anybody who emails me, they can just heather@vegasveganculinary.com. And I can shoot them a copy of the recipe.
I'll put that in the show notes. Thank you so much, because I think all the information you gave me is so important. So Chef Nico, what are you going to make for us today?
So today we're going to be doing a purple yam gnocchi, and we're going to do a butternut squash and carrot coconut cream sauce.
That sounds delicious, but anything in purple tastes good to me. I mean, I'm wearing purple. It's like my favorite color.
It was our hopes to start entering the fall season because Vegas has been so hot. So maybe putting out some fall dishes is going to change the weather.
Thank you. Fantastic. Well, if you're ready, you can get started.
Yes, and I'm going to leave it to Nico.
Perfect. All right, so first thing that I've done, and I've already done this earlier, is I've roasted this purple yam. Now, I've roasted it so it'll be cool enough to touch, but it's still warm. It's important that it's warm on the inside, as if it cools all the way down before you use it, it's going to get a little starchier and it's going to make a tougher, more dense product in the end. So for that, we're just going to cut it open. Now, this one, I said in the recipe, which you're going to get to use 2 of them, but this one was absolutely huge. So we used 1 of them. So I'm just going to peel that and I'm going to set that to this bowl here.
Gnocchi is a funny word.
What was that?
I said gnocchi is a funny word. It's a hard word to say. It looks like gnocchi.
Yeah, it is. Do you know what it means?
I don't, maybe circle? Does it mean circle or?
Knot. It's like the knot on the side of a tree. That's what it stands for.
Interesting. What people, I don't know if you ever saw the show Chef Nico, but people love to know what you eat in a day or what everybody eats in a day.
It changes so much. I never like to eat the same thing in a month. So we try to change up everything every day. Now that does not mean I don't eat leftovers. I don't believe in food waste. But taking your leftovers and reimagining them, taking them and turning them into something different. And it's amazing just how different you can make things taste using the same ingredients and just changing maybe 1 or 2 ingredients in it, or adding 1 or 2 ingredients to it that makes it so much different. Pureeing it versus leaving it whole, the texture difference on your tongue changes the way it tastes.
Or just throwing it in an air fryer.
Just throwing it in an air fryer, yeah, absolutely. So to that, now we're going to add a little bit of vegetable broth. Now we make this vegetable broth in-house and it has no seasoning to it whatsoever. So if you are using a store-bought one, try to find as low a sodium content as possible for this, because we want to control what we're doing to our food. We don't want to have it, which I know for you and your viewers is not an issue. You guys are already doing that. But.
That's cool that you make it with no seasoning.
Yeah, that way you can play with it. If you want to change up anything and you want to add seasoning to it, you can always season it at the end, but you can never take it out. So if you leave the soup on there and you forget about it and you over reduce it, you have an unedible soup, versus being able to take it and reduce it down as much as you want. And at the very end, you can control, and using, different things like sumac or lemon juice or vinegar to season instead of using salt.
I love sumac. It's so delicious. I don't know what made me wait so long to try it.
Yeah.
Such a good spice. You're right. You can always add more seasonings, but you can't take it away.
Right. So to this, we are going to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper to the base of this. But like I said, this would be a perfect time. Instead of putting salt, you could put sumac. Instead of sumac, you could put a little bit of lemon juice, would help perk up the flavor of it. Even a little bit of just a regular vinegar, like a red wine vinegar, would be very nice.
Well, you're going to get 2 bottles of vinegar just for being on the show in the flavor of your choice, reduced balsamic.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep. Every guest in the United States, just the first time they're on.
Well, thank you.
Yep. And then maybe you can create something spectacular. I'm guessing you probably know how to reduce your own balsamic vinegar.
Yes. And, but it's something that you make such great products now, taking advantage of the little shortcuts that make it easier to cook is a nice thing to have. So then now we're just going to add some plain all-purpose flour to this. Any flour of your choice would work. if you are using, say, like a gluten-free flour, you're going to have to play around with the end product a little bit more because it hydrates differently than all-purpose flour does. And even different parts of where you are in the world, your flour is going to hydrate differently.
Interesting. You know, I find though, when you reduce your own balsamic vinegar, the amount of time it takes, it makes such a small amount, you'd be better off just paying for the reduced balsamic.
Yeah, and a lot of times, depending on what you're using, if you start with a really high quality organic, with most of these companies that you can buy really good balsamic vinegar from, well, if you start with it and you reduce it down, you end up with a quarter of what you started with, and it gets to be incredibly expensive for what you're getting out of it.
Exactly. That's why when people say, oh, reduced balsamic so expensive, I'm like, well, go reduce your own, see if you save any money, because you're not gonna. And it takes a while too.
Yes, it does.
Because I've done that, because where I used to work at the True North Health Center, he didn't allow the reduced balsamics, but for some reason he allowed us to reduce the Costco balsamic, and you take this whole bottle and then, you know, like you say, you get a quarter of a cup.
We're just working more of that flour in.
What hours is your restaurant open?
So we are open, let's see, Monday through Friday, we are open 9 to 4, sorry about that. Monday through Friday, we're open 9 to 4, and Monday through Thursday. You can tell I spend most of the time in the kitchen instead of up watching the clock, but so it's 9 a.m. opening every day. We close at 4 o'clock Monday through Thursday, then 7 on Friday and Saturday, and 5 on Sunday.
Nice. And what time, when you teach the cooking classes, do you teach them?
So the cooking classes vary widely based on the day. All of that is always posted on our webpage where we have the calendar listed for all of our classes. So that's probably the easiest way to do it because they do change so rapidly.
And are the classes 2 hours, 3 hours? Are they hands-on? Are they instructional demonstration?
They're 100% hands-on, and kids are an hour and a half, and then the teens are 2 hours, and the adult classes run anywhere from 2.5 to 3 hours.
Nice. And do people work individually? Do they work in teams?
They get their own station. Everyone has their own station, their own cutting board. Everyone gets to do everything themselves hands-on. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. What are some of the themes of the classes?
Well, like, let's see, this Thursday, we have an adult class that's coming up that's all Yucatan style food. So the southern peninsula of Mexico. So we're going to be doing like a roasted tomatillo, cheese enchilada. We're going to be doing a Yucatan style pico de gallo. And we're also going to be doing some pickled red onions for that. So typical table garnishes that you'd find there to go along, and we're building the components for the enchilada all during the class.
Sounds great. What's the vegan scene like in Vegas?
It's nice. It's really big. Especially coming from where I had just moved from. I had moved from Oklahoma, and where we were in Oklahoma, I know there's a lot of stuff in Oklahoma City and such, but where we were, the closest vegan restaurant to us was an hour 45 minutes south or 2 hours north. So we had very limited opportunities there. But yeah, here it's big, it's growing. And the awareness of it, it seems like the community here is very accepting. We felt very welcome as soon as we came.
Nice.
So now I just laid out some bench flour and I'm working out the gnocchi here. So it doesn't take a lot of kneading in this dough. And actually, if you knead it a bunch, it'll get tougher. So the less that you can work with it, the better. Let's take half of this at this side. And now we can keep working with this.
Why do you call it spooky?
Spooky?
Mm-hmm.
Just as a Halloween theme for it.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe it was going to look like eyeballs or something.
Oh no, it'll be the classic shape, just a little bit different color.
Again, guys, if you want the recipe, just email Heather. Her address is in the show notes. The reason I can't post it in the show notes is because I'm limited to 5,000 characters, and I can't even post it in a comment because it's over 2,000. So very easy to get the recipe. It looks delicious. Oh, excuse me. Huh. Where'd he go? There you are. Okay. You're so quiet. I don't know that you're there sometimes.
Oh yeah. It's the, I guess it's just the mindset of the kitchen. You get so zoomed into what you're doing.
I know what you mean. It's hard to talk and cook at the same time sometimes.
So then on these one, I'm going to do more of that classic trattoria style gnocchi that you would see, which is going to be a flat gnocchi with an indentation in the center of it. Now you could, if you wanted to with these gnocchis, you could roll them out a little bit thinner, and using a fork, you could roll the grooves into the gnocchi, which is going to help keep the sauce and grab the sauce, and which would be something more like you would see in the supermarket. But for a rustic presentation and to keep traditional to how the dish started, we're going to do the little pillows with the little center indentation.
That's good. Gnocchi pillows.
Yeah.
Gnocchi. Have you ever heard of a restaurant in Vegas called Panvino?
Panvino. I haven't, but Heather's saying yes.
Do you guys know Vincenzo?
I don't know, no, but I have been to the restaurant. It's on the other side of town, so it's kind of not where I venture out to that often.
Yeah. It's a little hard to hear you, Heather. I don't know why.
Can you hear me better now?
Not really. But I can hear Nico. But anyway, he's a real nice guy. I've yet to have him on the show, but it's kind of cool because it's not a vegan restaurant, but he makes vegan food that's also oil-free because he took, the starch solution course, etc. That's where we used to eat when we went to Vegas because he would make it our way.
So now I have those ready to go. And as that water finishes coming up to a boil, I'm going to start getting started on our sauce.
Yes, Angela Heather is the owner of the culinary school, and Chef Nico is the executive chef who also teaches the classes. No, Susanna, I'm sorry you can't slip away. I'm just kidding. One of the guests said she has an appointment, but that's okay. You can watch the replay. Just kidding. No, you're not allowed to leave. I'm curious. It's funny because I don't know a lot of people in Vegas, but I literally only know 5 and that are vegan, and 3 of them are raw vegans. I'm curious if you have anything on your menu to accommodate a raw food vegan.
We do not as of right now. It is something that we are in the process of working on.
Cool. Because then I'll tell Lissa, Nate, and John that they got a new place to check out.
And we're just going to clean off our board here. And a nice little one-time trick. You can only do it one time, or reverse once, but go ahead and flip your board over. Now we've got a clean board to finish the rest of the recipe with.
Have you always enjoyed cooking?
I have, yeah, since I was very, very young.
Yeah, I find that for most chefs. I've been cooking since I'm 7, or at least baking. I find like you don't really get a chef that said, you know what, no, I just decided to start today. It really is usually a lifelong love.
Yeah. And for most of it, it's just that memory of childhood. It's some of the first things that you remember are in the kitchen, at least for me.
Do you have a favorite chef or cookbook?
As far as that goes, I don't know if I have a favorite chef or cookbook. Lately, I've been doing a lot more of, trying to live a little smarter at home and stuff. So we did get a McDougall book, and we've been going through that and cooking through McDougall and Neil Bernard's book. So, but other than that, I mean, it's food. Anybody who can grab my attention and feels like they're actually putting their heart into a dish. Yeah, there's not very many chefs I don't like as far as that goes. There's carrots into that pot. All of these can be cut pretty roughly because we are going to use an immersion blender on this, so we're not going to have to worry about the chunks being totally even.
What's your favorite kitchen tool or appliance?
My favorite kitchen tool or appliance. Number one is a good quality chef's knife. It seems like it's something, if you have a good quality knife, it makes, and by good quality, I just mean that it's sharp, it stays sharp, and it maintains edge. That's probably my most favorite thing. Other than that, immersion blenders are nice because then you don't have to transfer everything. I'm not a huge fan of doing dishes at the end of a meal. So as many as I can eliminate, I like. But yeah, I would say those are probably my top two must-have gear items.
Do you use anything like an Instant Pot or an air fryer?
I use both. The Instant Pot is wonderful because it's really changed the way, especially like beans, something like a bean dish, or it's just taken the time and cutting it down so much that it's a wonderful device for that. And the fact that everything is trapped and under pressure, the flavor that you get out of it is far superior. So that, and yeah, especially in the heat of Vegas in the summer, air fryer is wonderful.
Any favorite brands?
As far as brands go, I'm not that partial to a certain brand. I have the Philips one that I like quite a bit. But what did I have? Before that, I had a Bravo model, and I like both of them. It's the same thing as long as you're getting something that's going to last you. I'm not that partial to the brand.
Have you ever heard of the Paco Jet?
What was that?
The Paco Jet. Have you ever heard of that piece of equipment?
No.
It's like the state-of-the-art ice cream machine. It used to, well, I think it still sells for $3,500. A company called Ninja Creamy made a home version of it for less than $200. It's my favorite ice cream making machine.
Oh, wow. I have to check it out.
Yeah, check it out. I'm trying to figure out how I even found out about you guys. I did meet Heather, but I had already booked her on the show before I met her.
Veg Fest. Oh, okay.
No, I met her, but I did book her before. I'm trying to think how I found out about her. You don't know Ina and Mook, do you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, good, you do. See, so look, you know 2 of the 5 people I know in Vegas. Go figure.
Yeah, I mean, the raw food thing used to, I don't know if you remember Lou, who used to have Go Vegan Cafe here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay. Lou used to own Go Vegan Cafe here in town, and Lou is a good friend. So, you know, I've kind of met a lot of the raw food people through her. And Lou actually helps out here occasionally now that Go Vegan has shut down. She's been giving us some ideas for adding some raw elements. And then I've recently hired a new kitchen/assistant who has a raw food certification as well. So we're hoping to start to incorporate some of those things into the menu.
That's fantastic.
Yes. That's a butternut squash.
Yes.
Heather, do you eat at the restaurant every day?
Which one of us?
Heather.
Yes. Every day.
What are your favorite things?
You know, I think because I have the ability to go behind the scenes and make something different. I mean, I would get, I eat salads more often than not, and we recently bought a commercial juicer, so we've been doing some juicing experimentation and things like that. But if I was going to eat off the menu, I love Nico's soups. We had a lemon asparagus soup recently. That was phenomenal.
Nice. So there's a question from a live viewer named Meadow. What cuisine most inspires the menu at your restaurant?
I mean, we really get kind of creative with things, and the menu changes kind of frequently too, because I feel like we have the ability to do that here. People don't expect to walk in. Like in a typical restaurant, you expect your menu to be consistent. Here, we change it up a lot, mainly because it's about creating dishes and being able to expose the population to how good vegan can be and in so many different ways. For the most part, the deli remains pretty stable with like sandwiches and soups and the grab and go options because of the location downtown for businesses and things like that. But I guess it's probably more American taste to me, if that's even a cuisine.
Yeah, but then that's what's nice about, like she said, the soups and stuff like that is they change. And I'm like I said, I'm not somebody who likes to stay stagnant and eat the same type of food all the time. And since we are in Vegas and it is such a destination for international travel, we like to really show off the fact that there are so many different unique people around. So showing different types of food and what they have to offer is really important to us.
Like our catering menu, it might be but what we have.
Yeah, it's weird, Heather. I don't know why when you move, we can't hear you. We can only hear you when you stand where Nico's standing.
Okay, better?
Yeah, you have to be there or we can't hear you at all.
I was saying, I said, even our catering menu is, while it has a few elements of what's in the deli, we really add a lot to the catering menu, so it's different. And then if somebody calls and says, well, I really would prefer if I could have this, then we just create it, you know. So we're doing a private plated event tomorrow night, well, after we close, and nothing that we're serving tomorrow night is even on our menu. So it's just nice that we can really give people what they want.
And Jesse says, so why Vegas?
Why Vegas? Because I'm here. Because I was already here. I'd already lived here for 30 years. I already had my foundation here. It's a good international hub now for travel. We're close to LA. I mean, we have so many visitors. It's just such a great tourist location. And my location with the school and the restaurant is right in the heart of tourist industry. So I'm not just having a target market of the local clientele. I can really reach so many people.
And Deborah wants to know if you ever offer virtual classes.
Yes, we're starting.
We are
Literally.
starting, yes.
This was a great opportunity for us to kind of get our setup and everything. But yeah, we've got our platform now, and we are going to be launching online classes in probably less than a week.
Do you have like an email list that people can sign up for so that they're notified?
We do have an email list going, and the notices about the online classes will be getting shot out as soon as we do our run through later today, and I start getting classes posted. So yes, if anybody is interested in going on our email list, they can just shoot me an email and I can forward it to my assistant and she can get them added.
That's fantastic. With virtual classes, there's no limit.
No limit. Anybody in the world will be able to sign up. And I'm trying to identify now good times because I want to be able to make sure I reach different time zones. Classes aren't offered at 2 in the morning for some people.
Okay, so while you all were talking, I added in some more of that vegetable stock and some of the coconut milk into this pan that had the onions, garlic, carrots, and butternut squash. So that's just coming up to a boil and simmering. And then we're going to emulsify that with our immersion blender to make our final sauce for the gnocchi.
Can people see your menu online of what you offer at the restaurant?
Absolutely. Yeah, just go to our website, go under the Let's Eat tab, and they can see what's on the menu. Under there is also our catering tab if anyone's local and interested in catering. Our class, I think it's the culinary school tab, actually has the link to our class schedule. And on that schedule, they can click on any class and get more detailed information and sign up. It's pretty user friendly. We're going to be adding the online classes, like I mentioned, so they're not loaded into the calendar yet, but they will be.
Aren't you from Pennsylvania originally?
Baltimore.
Okay, I was hearing the way you said "on." I thought maybe
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. Yeah, I'm really good at ascertaining accents.
Yes.
Las Vegas has so many shows and celebrities. Have any come into the restaurant?
Yeah, we have a few. When you live here so long, you live amongst them. My kids went to school with several, so it just became commonplace to kind of be interacting with the celebrities. But gosh, who did we have? We had some singer was here doing a tour, and then we had somebody else who was visiting for the Oscars, and we did all of his meal prep for the week. Probably like 4 days while I was here. It's nice when we get the acknowledgement and we've had a comedian or two come in.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of vegan celebrities like Kevin Hart, who just opened his own restaurant.
Exactly. And, are you familiar with the Peeled, the new vegan cooking competition that's going to be launching next week called Peeled?
Wow. Where can we watch that? That's amazing.
That's going to be, that's premiering next week. So we have a little clip in that. And it's premiering in LA on the 24th.
Fantastic. In your bio, you mentioned non-accredited cooking school, and Angela wants to know, what would it take to get accredited, and what does accredited and non-accredited mean?
For me, I don't want to be accredited, at least not right now. Accredited means that we would have a program that you would actually go through in order to get a certification, a chef certification, or a culinary degree. And we're not interested in doing these long 6-month, full commitment types of programs. I'm much more geared towards the average person, where there's not a fear of having to invest $30,000 into a curriculum, and it's more of a $65 class investment to learn some basics. And then, they can pick and choose, and it's more random, and you can come for date nights, and we have so many different things you can do. So going that accredited route, that was just a choice. I'm sure somewhere in the future, if I wanted to go down that path, I could look into it and, see if it's something we want to pursue. But right now, no.
Thank you for explaining.
Absolutely. And we do, however, that said, we do partner with Escoffier the online cooking culinary school, and they do send externs here. So we are in a position to be allowed to train externs and have them on site and fulfill their 100, I think it's 170 hours of externship hours here. And, we oversee the process, we critique, we teach, we do all of that. So that's also an alternative to people, if they're enrolled in that program and they have to find some plant-based school to be able to fulfill that commitment, we're here.
What are your favorite quick and easy tips, Chef Nico?
Quick and easy tips. One of them is if you use ginger, like we're using in this recipe, I'm sure most people have already seen this, but taking a spoon to peel it instead of a vegetable peeler or a knife helps with one, not losing so much of your ginger. And the second thing is that ginger gets kind of sticky and slippery as you start to use it. So using a paring knife can get to be dangerous cutting towards yourself. So it's a little safer and easier way to do it. The other thing is when you have a big piece of ginger, and if you don't use ginger a lot, it doesn't mean that you can't buy the ginger. Peel the whole piece of ginger down, wrap it tightly in some kind of whatever you prefer to store your ginger in to freeze it. You could use like a plastic wrap or one of those reusable bags, stick it into there and freeze it. When you pull it out, you can grate it right into a pot just like it was fresh. And it'll work just as well and it'll stay months in the freezer that way.
Love it. Do you ever use the skin in ginger if it's organic? Do you always
Yes,
peel it?
absolutely. Depending on, so the reason why I didn't use it with this dish is because of the fact that we are going for that smooth coating. Now, all of these scraps and pieces that you see me putting into this bowl, the reason why they're going into a bowl and they're not going to go into the trash or anything is this is vegetable stock. This is gold right here. So none of this stuff is going to get wasted. But when we do use the skin of it, I use a lot in stir fries where it adds a nice texture, a little bite to a stir fry, or if you're doing it into a sauce that you don't mind a little bit of grittiness. If there's going to be, say, pumpkin seeds or something that go on the top of it, it's great to use the entire ginger. Yes.
Did you work at any other restaurants before?
I've worked at quite a few restaurants before. Most of them were not vegan. Now, the last restaurant I cooked in was a restaurant. Well, it was actually a New Seasons Market. Is a like a grocery store that has a food service thing, kind of like a Whole Foods, but a much smaller setup to it. And we would do meals made to order there as well as the hot bar. And so that was the last thing I did is I worked on vegan recipe development for them.
Ever going to write a book?
Am I ever going to write a book? We shall see. We shall see. Right now, I'm fully involved in the classes and the school that's going on right now, as well as the catering and everything. So everything's pretty tied up for me right now. But it would be something in a few years as time goes on that I'd start to think about.
What do you like better, chefing or teaching?
They both are fulfilling in different ways. It's really hard to get rid of the feeling of when you go and you deliver a dish to somebody, especially The best thing is when people are skeptical. They say, "Oh, I'll never like that. I don't like vegetables very much." Or there's no way you could ever be full eating that kind of food. And then you prepare a dish for them, you serve it to them, and they said, if you didn't just make that, I wouldn't believe that it was vegan. It's really hard to say that that's not a wonderful feeling, but the nurturing aspect of teaching is something that I love. It's the ability to give back, because I've been taught by so many great people. So the ability to give back and refortify somebody else's learning is something that I love as well.
People are saying they wish they could taste it, but that's virtual for you.
Yeah.
Chef AJ, have you ever had Chef Beck on your show?
Funny you should mention that she'll be on Monday.
Oh, she will. Okay.
And I have had her on. Actually, I've hired her a couple of times when I lived in Los Angeles, when I did conferences, both as a speaker and as the caterer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She's actually going to be getting honored this Friday at the Mercy for Animals Gala in LA. So,
What's the name of the gala?
Mercy for Animals.
Oh, Mercy for MFA. Wow, fantastic. Oh,
Yeah.
that is
Her
amazing.
and Joanne Molinaro, the Korean vegan.
Are you going?
I am.
Oh, wow. Man, there's nothing like getting a vegan honor. I got the I'm vegan for 45 years, and I got the Hall of Fame award a few years ago at Vegetarian Summerfest. And it was
That's
the
awesome.
thing. Yeah, the thing was, it was a surprise, which I'm not crazy about surprises, because I was wearing a sweatsuit and I didn't have any makeup on, and I didn't know, and I could have prepared a speech. It was really kind of really very shocking, you know. So Jesse says, do the students get to eat their creations?
Absolutely.
They either eat it or they take it. Sometimes there's so much that they end up boxing it and taking it home.
Nice. Meadow wants to know, is there a reason you think why the kid classes are so popular?
Because I am the only cooking school for kids in Las Vegas. All the other ones have closed down. Parents want the ability for kids to be able to be in the kitchen and learning technique and so forth. And I mean, even the kids classes, they're hands-on. We've even got little stools for the stove so that they can be safe when they're up there cooking at the stove. And parents love it, and they know it's vegan. And the kids actually, probably like 70% of the kids aren't vegan, but they sit there and they go, "Oh my gosh, this is so good! I can't believe it's so good!" And we're like, "What did you think? It was going to be bad?"
Yeah, it's so that's interesting.
And our kid classes are fun, and that's the other thing. I mean, we had a sold out class a couple weeks ago, and I think it was at that point we realized having that many children in a class was too many. But we did Galaxy Donuts, and the donuts were chocolate donuts, but they had some carrot and zucchini baked into it, and then they decorated them with sparkles and stardust and swirly colors, and they had a great time.
Let's see who's asking that question. Jesse wants to know if either of your families are also vegan.
Yes. So the immediate household that I live in, my fiance and I are both vegan. And then my mother and my grandmother both live in Vegas now. have both gone vegan probably like 6 months ago now. So they've fully immersed.
My son and daughter are both vegan, but outside of that, no.
So who's going to cater your wedding, Chef Nico? Because you can't do it.
We're still trying to figure that out. I haven't given up hope of control. No.
To be hands-on cooking class.
It's going to be a hands-on cooking class wedding. Yeah, it's almost there.
You know where you're getting married?
I know we're going to get married in Vegas. As the property goes so far, we're not sure yet. And I mean, this hasn't been said. It's 4 years now that we've been engaged. So we're still figuring that part of it out. You think we've done 4 years, but we're still working on that part of it. Just getting everything aligned and making sure that everything is how we want it to be before we go ahead and do it.
You could get married by Elvis if you want.
We could, yeah.
Yeah. Deborah wants to know how you get the word out about your classes.
What was that question?
How do you get the word out about your classes?
So all of our classes, one, we post it in the school. And then the other thing is if you are part of that email, you get an email blast of an update of all the classes that are coming up. And then as far as that goes, our website, that website calendar of all of the classes that are coming up is definitely the best because they change so frequently. And then if there's a class that you missed and we didn't end up filling that class, there's a chance that it will come back again. So it's one of those things to keep an eye on.
Right. The kitchen looks beautiful.
Thank you. We work hard to keep it clean, but it's an open, the whole floor plan is an open floor plan. So when you come in, you can see the kitchen, which is nice because it keeps everybody clean and everything on it. So.
But also the kids classes allows parents to stay up in the dining area while the kids are down in the class because we're pretty specific with the kids classes that it has to be only the kids down there, no parents allowed in the kitchen at that time. Because kids have a tendency to want to run to mom and dad if they get bored or they're distracted or so the open concept really, it's a nice thing for the parents to be able to watch.
Oh, so the parents are there while the kids are cooking.
They can come, they can leave. We always tell them they're completely safe. Here we're not going to let anybody leave, but a lot of times they just like to stay to see how much they enjoy the class. And I think if they come back a second time, then they take advantage of leaving for a few hours.
Especially since most of the kids' classes are in the morning time, a lot of times they'll drop them off, especially if they've been here 2 or 3 times, they'll drop them off and then they'll say, oh, we're going to go catch some brunch, we'll be back.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. This is not a quick and easy recipe for sure.
It is not a quick recipe. The recipe is definitely easy. It is one of those things that is a process. It does take some time, but as you saw, the form the dough is easy. The actual preparation, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could dump all of those veggies at the very beginning into a food processor or run them through one of those hand choppers or something like that, because we aren't going to have to worry about the shape and size of them because they're all going to be pureed. So the longest thing right now is it was taking this burner, this particular burner that we have, to come up to a boil to start to. So normally I would say in a household over a gas stove, it would take 20 minutes start to finish, 25 at most.
Kathy says, have you ever put too much spice into something and ruined it? And were you able to rescue it by adding something? And if so, what?
Yes, so spice as in heat, or spice as in too many differentials of flavors?
Well, she didn't say, but it could even be salt. I think maybe just too much of anything, and were you able to?
Okay. So if
fix
it's too much heat can always be corrected with adding if a little bit of like coconut milk or any kind of non-dairy milk would work, calm down heat. The other thing that would help that would be something sweet, like if you emulsify a date into it or something like that would work, or coconut sugar or agave, anything of that nature would help bring the spice level down. If you put something in there that's a broth and it's too salty, you can take potato and take a couple of thick slices of potato, and you can throw that into the dish. It won't be enough to make your dish taste like it has potato in it, but it'll help absorb some of that extra seasoning that's in there. And the same thing for that. So sugar would also help for that. Some form of sweetener, not sugar, but some form of sweetener. And then if you've overwhelmed the dish with spices, the only thing that you can do is increase the dish. So if you've overwhelmed it with just too much, you bite into it and say, wow, there's a lot of cumin in there, really earthy. Adding half of everything that you added in all over again would help to do that. So on these now, I'm just starting to be able to take the edge of this spoon and go through them. So we've got probably another 2.5 to 3 minutes on this before we can emulsify it and throw the dish together.
I contemplated having Nico do this dish versus vegan sushi, but we went with this simply because it was more of a fall harvest kind of dish. It's very, very colorful. And just, like I said, puts everybody in the spirit for the holidays quickly approaching.
Do you do like meals for people for the holidays they could pick up at the restaurant, like for Thanksgiving and Christmas?
Definitely. All the holidays. I think Easter so far has been our most popular holiday, but I suspect Thanksgiving this year, now that we've been, we will have been around a year, will be pretty popular. We do meal prep basically, and we come up with like 2 mains, 4 different sides, a couple desserts, and people can basically order the small or the large size depending on how many people they're feeding. And we take orders, especially for Thanksgiving, throughout the whole month. And then we have a couple of really insane days of prepping. And yeah, Easter though was a lot of fun. People loved our Easter meal prep.
And then when we do prep those, they are sent out. So everything is already portion wrapped, ready to go with instructions. So if there's dishes that need to be reheated or such, there's directions on how to serve it. If there's sauces that have been incorporated, a lot of times the sauce will be at the bottom. So then the whole dish doesn't get coated in it and sog out during the duration of the travel. So then it'll be instructions on how to toss it or how to combine everything. So it's very, very straightforward.
The other thing I don't think we've mentioned, KJ, is that we don't use a lot of processed foods here. I do partner with a bunch of different companies out there, with companies that I believe in their products, but for the most part, nothing we do is processed. So if we're making a burrito with sausage, it's going to be made from TPP, and we create a sausage round ourselves. Or, you know, I mean, very, very minimal. We'll use seitan for a couple of our dishes, but we slice it in-house and we marinate it for days and days before we actually cook it and prepare it.
I love that. Well, the name of my first book and my fourth book have the word unprocessed in it. So I love that.
I think it's important. People need to be able to get back to the roots of what food really is. And, you know, you can create flavors. You don't need all of the sugar and everything. I mean, this dish alone, personally, I won't eat butternut squash just if you sliced it and, you know, just put it on a plate. I'd be like, but with this, it's amazing. The flavor is amazing. And you just, anything with coconut milk, I think is amazing.
Yeah.
It's funny because that was the first reaction I got when I was building up the sauce. I was going to have Heather try it. And I said, oh, try it. And she's like, well, normally I don't like butternut squash. But then she tried it and she goes, oh, that's really good.
That sounds delicious. If you don't like butternut squash, try it air fried or roasted. It's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're ready to go. So now we're going to emulsify this with our little handheld blender here. Actually, I think a little bit of fresh basil and cilantro would be nice.
What kind of desserts do you have at the restaurant? I used to be a pastry chef at a restaurant, vegan pastry chef.
Now, this is definitely a question for Heather. As much as I love cooking, I am not the baker of this place for sure. So
what do we do here? We have cheesecake that is phenomenal. One of the popular local restaurants has started using our cheesecakes for their menu now. And, you know, we can create these cheesecakes into so many different flavors. I absolutely love them. When, you know, we also do, because it's deli style, we've got brownies and blondies and a lot of things that people who aren't necessarily vegan love. And I want to be able to show them that their typical day-to-day kind of desserts, cookies, can all be vegan so easily and can be amazing in flavor. We also have some shortbread. You know, it's just another one of those things that people think shortbread, they think butter, they think butter isn't vegan, you know, it kind of goes down that domino effect. And when you give them something and they can taste it and go, oh my God, then you've done your job. Okay, here's the basil and the grapes.
and that's just a little bit more of the house-made vegetable stock that's going in there to give the consistency that we want it to be.
What are 3 things you always have in your refrigerator?
3 things that I always have in my refrigerator. Always have fresh herbs. Always have fresh herbs in my refrigerator. I always have the basic staple of a mirepoix, so onions, carrots, and celery, because so much of my cooking is built off of that. And then I always have some form of either tofu or TVP or pea protein, something like that. And with those 3 ingredients, 3 base things, I mean, I know it's more than 3 ingredients, but 3 base ideas of flavorings, you can always make so many different recipes out of them.
What are you doing now?
Now I am going to throw the gnocchi that has been already pre-cooked into, so that's what we were boiling earlier. So now that's into a pan with a tiny bit of that pasta water to just help the sauce stick to it. So now we have our finished sauce here. And I'm just going to ladle a little bit of it into here and bring it up to a simmer. So that way everything can cook and the flavors will blend and blend with everything.
What's your favorite herb or spice?
My favorite herb, yeah, as far as dried herbs go, I like eggplant a lot. And then I like fresh herbs, basil. I love basil, and I love chervil, which is really hard to find, but I love it.
Don't know if I ever had chervil.
It's very delicate herb with small leaves on it that have a slightly anise flavor, but very light. Of all the anise flavors, it's the lightest. Speaking of basil, we're going to take a little bit of basil and a little bit of cilantro to garnish this dish. Since there is ginger in the dish, the ginger and the cilantro together play really well.
A lot of times people might have used oil to make this, right, Nico?
Yes, yes.
Right.
Traditionally, it would have been made.
It's very easy to replace the oil with just the vegetable stock.
Kathy wants to know what's your most successful dish, and in your opinion, what has tasted the best? You get the recipe by looking in the show notes and emailing Heather, and her email address is at the top of the show notes, which you can see only if you're watching on YouTube right below the video.
For me, that's a really hard one to answer. Now, as a chef, when you eat your own food, you do it critically. You eat your food thinking, what can I do to this dish to make it better? Now, there's been times where I have said, there's nothing I can do to this dish. If I did anything else, then I would ruin this dish. But as far as that goes, we did a version of a clam chowder that was really reminiscent of clam chowder and went over really, really well.
Yeah,
That was
sold out now 3 times.
3 times we sold out of that, and I made a double batch in one day that we still sold out of. Okay, and that there is the finished dish.
That looks delicious. Who gets to eat it of you two?
Yeah.
I have a game to go to on Friday, so I'm not eating.
Just remember, there's only one spot where we can hear you guys. There's literally only one spot in your kitchen or you can't be
I
heard.
said, I'm not eating. I have that event on Friday. No eating for me.
Oh my God. Well, great. Well, thank you so much. I look forward to hearing more from both of you and I wish you every success in your school and in your restaurant. And thank you for being a vegan mecca in what really is kind of a unhealthy wasteland.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank
It was
you.
nice to be on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow when we're broadcasting a little bit later at 2 p.m. Pacific time because my guest lives in Tokyo and he didn't want to wake up in the middle of the night. His name is Doug Lerner and he's going to tell you how he lost as a middle-aged man 140 pounds